From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
It started out as a simple roadside stand.
So he put up a big sign, Robert is here. I sold out and walked home.
See how this Southern Florida business has become a family enterprise, as Southern California prepares for a new round of issues caused by wildfires. The possible next leader of farmers and ranchers faces questions.
And I commit to you today that if confirmed, I will do everything in my ability to make sure our farmers, ranchers, and rural communities thrive.
The latest on the nomination of Brooke Rollins to be Secretary of USDA, right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer.
Ben's bins, please hold.
Yeah, Ben's has been busy all day.
Seems like no one can keep up with this new Z series. What did you all put in these seeds?
Science.
Agriculture is surpassingly important to us as a nation. All Americans are important, but the farmer, the worker of the land who feeds all the others, is amongst the most notable.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. President Trump's pick to be the next Ag Secretary before lawmakers for her confirmation hearing. Brooke Rollins appearing before the Senate Ag Committee on Thursday. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me. Michelle, lawmakers pressed her on all the hot topics right now in agriculture.
Clinton, during Brooke Rollins' confirmation hearing, she rolled out an aggressive agenda for her first 100 days at USDA. She positioned herself as a supporter of diverse agricultural interests, including all fuels, while committing to protecting farmers from potential trade-related challenges like tariffs. But most importantly, she'll be a champion for agriculture. Brooke Rollins is rooted in public policy and agriculture, which set the stage for her priorities for the Department of Ag if confirmed as Secretary. This includes quick dissemination of the disaster and economic assistance passed by Congress.
We must ensure that the disaster and economic assistance authorized by Congress is deployed as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Second, we must work with the great men and women of USDA, the stakeholder communities, and state leaders, my deep background in state policy, to immediately and comprehensively get a handle on the state of animal disease outbreaks. Third, we must immediately begin to modernize, realign, rethink the United States Department of Agriculture.
But she also stressed the importance of developing a new farm bill to provide a long-term safety net.
Beyond these, I am dedicated and committed to providing all of you with the timely technical assistance that we will need to ensure that we have a farm bill that moves forward.
The nominee fielded continued questions about President Trump's trade agenda and committed to supporting American farmers damaged by the implementation of tariffs by using efforts like the market facilitation program payments from the first administration.
I have spoken with Secretary Perdue a few times on how that was managed into that team, so I fully understand, and that we are prepared to execute something similar if approved, if confirmed, but also working with the White House to ensure that we can close those holes for our farmers and ranchers moving forward under any sort of tariff execution in the next coming days, in the next few years.
Rollins clarified her stance on ethanol and the renewable fuels standard, separating herself from past positions of the Texas Public Policy Foundation she led and white papers she says were written over a decade ago.
Clearly, I've spoken with so many of you on both sides of the aisle on this issue. I will be a secretary for all agriculture. It is really important to me that we continue to defend and elevate and honor all sources of fuel.
Rollins promised to work on a fix for Prop 12 and getting USDA employees back to work in the office. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Another key nomination. We'll be watching the hearing for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the next head of Health and Human Services. Now, it's reported his hearing before the Senate Finance Committee will be on Wednesday, January 29th. Kennedy will likely face questions about his past remarks skeptical of vaccines and his support of abortion access. He's also expected to field questions about his views on food and agriculture. Now, as we have previously reported, Kennedy is critical of modern industrial agriculture, arguing current practices are damaging to human health, soil, and water resources. While Kennedy recently says he wants to create a, quote, win-win policy for farmers. After the strongest snowstorm in 130 years slammed areas of the U.S. Gulf, ADM has declared a force majeure. Archer Daniels Midland halting the loading of grain vessels at U.S. Gulf terminals in southern Louisiana as those vessels struggled to navigate the weather conditions. It's reported up to 10 inches of snow fell in New Orleans, an area not used to dealing with that much snow. It may take a few more days for things to improve weather-wise in the south. Meteorologist Jack Van Meter has an update for us.
Taking a look at our current and future radar, we can see that we are still watching for that light clipper system to be moving past the Montanas. That'll kind of sweep down over the Great Lakes states and just depositing just a little bit of snow. Nothing major, though. We are going to be still seeing some mountain snow, but also let's go ahead and take a look off the coast of California. We are starting to see some energy come together over there and actually start to produce a low pressure center. And what that's actually going to do is give a shot at precipitation, specifically rain, and obviously in the mountains some snow for Southern California, some moisture that they desperately need out there. When that is happening, we're also watching some Gulf moisture actually start to advect northward or just move northward into parts of Texas. Dallas and Houston will be getting some nice soaking rain come Sunday morning. And it's not just the south that's seen some really cold and wintry conditions as of late. Check out this scene a few days ago. Jeremy Richardson keeping the cows fed in Ennis, Montana, in some pretty tough conditions, dare I say. Let's go ahead and hear it for all the ranchers out there. More on your forecast coming up.
Wildfires continuing to burn around Los Angeles, but the area is expected to get some much needed rain this weekend. As Laura Aguirre reports, that comes with a threat of mudslides.
Thousands of firefighters, battle-worn by weeks on the front lines, continue to fight for total containment of multiple fires today, with a weekend forecast that could bring rain relief and a possible new threat. Forecasters say more rain could fall across Southern California before Monday than it's had since last June. The needed rain brings with it the risk of mudslides and possible flooding, prompting CAL FIRE to fill pallets of sandbags for distribution to residents in the fire-scarred areas, where there's precious few trees, structures, and vegetation to handle the rain. A new wildfire erupted Wednesday, the Hughes, which ignited north of Santa Clarita Wednesday and so far has burned over 10,000 acres. At one point, over 50,000 people were under evacuation orders or warnings.
As long as there is active flame, we will constantly be reassessing on where the evacuation warnings and orders need to be.
With the Hughes fire, location helps.
We're fortunate because we can dip right out of Castaic Lake, so we've got a lot of water up there.
A water access and wind advantage over the firefights to the south.
It's nowhere near what we saw over in the Palisades and Eaton Fire with 80 to 100-mile-an-hour gusts.
Those two blazes, the most deadly and destructive of the fires this month, are both over 70% contained this hour, and recovering residents there are waiting to see what the weekend of rain ahead will bring. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting for AgDay.
Flip Your Soil on AgDay is brought to you by ESN. Hear why farmers across the country trust ESN to protect their nitrogen investment and maximize yield. Learn more at smartnitrogen.com.
Getting the most out of your soils isn't just about fertility. It's also about making sure your seed and the soil can work together. Now, seed germination is vitally important to protecting end-of-season yield, but the type of seed and the environment it's being placed in can make a big difference. Randy Dowdy of Total Acre says farmers need to focus on saturated cold germ.
When they push the envelope and they get out there a little bit early based off the calendar because the ground's fit, now the ground may be cold. So having that saturated cold germ is a big deal, because what we want is not to burn up a lot of seed energy while the plant's in the ground.
Now, he says if you plant in warm soils, you may be able to get by with a variety that has poor saturated cold germ, but for many of those early season acres, it's an important consideration to maximize soil support. Record cattle prices and some corn futures contracts trading above $5. We'll talk current markets and current opportunities coming up next in Markets Now. And later, it started with a sign and has grown into a lifelong passion. The story behind the Robert is Here produce stand today on Fresh Produce Fridays.
AgDay is brought to you by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator steel closing wheels provides a 13 bushel advantage per acre in no-till and a 7 bushel advantage per acre in conventional. Do you have enough room in your bin to switch to the Germinator?
Live cattle hit all-time highs this week and continued the upward momentum on Thursday, with corn and soybeans also in the green. Michelle Rook is back to share the good news in markets now.
Corn and soybeans resumed their rally on Thursday. Craig Turner is back in with analysis. And Craig, new highs for the move in corn and soybeans. And how much of this is really about South American weather?
Certainly a part of it is, we're seeing continued dryness in Argentina, which is helping out with the corn market. We're also seeing dryness in the southern part of Brazil. So definitely a big part is on the supply side of things. We are seeing exports fairly strong still for the corn market. We're still ahead of pace on the exports. So, and we're also seeing some not only higher highs here, but in soybeans we closed above the 200-day moving average. So funds are coming in, speculators are coming in.
So Craig, how much higher do you think we are going to push here? How much will the funds push this as well when you get even corn back months above $5?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we see it is the old trading range for corn was 350 to 420. And whenever we got close to 10% stock to usage, which is the line for basically price rationing, if we thought we were going to get under there, all of a sudden the market has to price ration exports. That is about 520, 525 for us right now. So if the market thinks these exports are going to keep on going higher, or we're going to keep on having production issues in South America, and we were under 1.5 billion in that 10% stock to usage, you can break out above that 525 area. We'll see what happens. I mean, there's going to be some pretty big resistance, I think, in the next 10 to 15, 20 cents going higher. And if the funds want to take it higher, they will, but we are definitely at that line of, do we need to start price rationing exports?
Soybeans, will they get above 11?
Thursday looks real strong as we come into the close here. So if we do, the next stop would be right around 11 and then around 11.20 on the charts here. Those would be your next two major targets. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do get up there, we'd see a lot of farmers selling too.
All right, thanks for joining us, Craig Turner with Stone X, and 11 more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
Starting out with our drought monitor, while we are starting to eye some improvements in some areas in regards to the drought, we are still seeing some worsening as well. As we take a look at the East Coast first, we can see that some moderate drought is starting to move up into parts of North Carolina and pretty much persisting all the way up the coast to Maine there. But good news is that we are starting to see multiple systems kind of take that northeasterly path and really put down some good snowpack. Same can actually be said for the state of Michigan. As we can see, pretty abnormally dry, and parts of that moderate and actually severe drought starting to take place up there by Lake Huron. Again, multiple chances over the next few days, actually for the next week, of lake effect snow to be put down on the ground to do some decent snowpack there. As we make our way out west, we still are watching the situation that is starting to unfold, I should say, that is keeping on unfolding from Montana and parts of the Dakotas. That border area, we're really seeing that extreme drought really start to grow. And then, of course, unfortunately, down in Southern California and western portions of of Arizona, we are still seeing, again, that extreme drought really take place. Here's our current snow depth. And of course, we had to start out with the south there. Those Gulf states, Gulf Coast states, I should say, still seeing pretty decent snowpack that is going to be persisting through actually much of the weekend. It will be down there just because, again, temperatures still going to be right around that 30-degree mark for those folks, and they'll start to warm up and come out of that pattern going into next week. But again, still a decent pack out there in the Rocky Mountains, and we're still seeing a lot of snow actually out towards the east as well. So that is good news there. Jet stream, though, very dynamic over the next few days as we start to see a pretty big trough start to take place, and again, give California a little bit of moisture. Stanford, Texas, 56 degrees, low of 26 degrees. Clearwater, Nebraska, 40 degrees, low of 22 degrees. Going to be seeing some pretty cloudy conditions there. And finally, Argyle, Florida, 49 degrees and a low of 24 degrees.
A roadside produce stand can be a fun stop, but for Robert, it's been his life. Up next on Fresh Produce Fridays, we'll get a tour of the Robert is Here operation from its humble beginnings in Homestead, Florida. What started out as a kid's fruit stand in Florida has grown into a big business that's now a family enterprise. The Packers' Jennifer Straley takes us to Robert is Here.
Dubbed the Disney World of fruit stands, Robert is Here in Homestead, Florida, draws scores of area locals and tourists from far and wide to this family farm stand unlike any other. And the name of this one-of-a-kind produce market is as curious as its incredible selection of exotic and tropical fruits.
I am Robert, the little kid that opened up a farm market 1959, and that's Robert is Here.
Robert was just 6 years old when his father asked him to sell some cucumbers by the side of the road.
And I sat here all day long with no customers. The next day, my dad was told by my mom to make me more visible. So he put up a big sign, Robert is Here. I sold out and walked home.
The next weekend, Robert returned to his well-signed roadside post and sold out of produce right away. And he's been selling out of locally grown and imported fruits and vegetables ever since.
Well, most of it comes from here in South Florida. We grow most of it, and we get from other growers some of the same things that we grow, because we might not have enough.
Robert is not only a knowledgeable produce salesman, he's also a farmer who bought his first 10 acres of land when he was 14 years old and grew the family business from there. Robert says people are interested in something different, especially when it's fresh fruit that tastes like ice cream, custard, or chocolate.
Sugar apples don't normally come in this time of the year. They look prettier when they're in season. The cool weather makes the skin turn dark in places, but it's like ice cream grown on a tree.
Robert is Here is a family enterprise. Today, Robert's 4 children, including his son Robert, work alongside their father at the fruit stand.
I love that I get to work side by side with my family, and I'm not stuck in a cubicle.
But offering shoppers an adventure in produce is just part of the Robert is Here success story, a farm stand that recently celebrated 65 years in business.
It's more than just somewhere you come and shop and buy a couple of things. It has a pulse here.
Reporting for AgDay, I'm Jennifer Straley with The Packer.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Now, parts of Florida saw snow for the first time in years this week. And for some residents, it was their first snow ever. The joy of a winter wonderland for some Florida folks next in the country. Do you remember the first time you saw snow as a kid? Well, for some people in Florida, this week's historic snowfall is truly something new.
It's snowing. It's a winter wonderland here in Florida.
That's Alethea Mixon, the 26-year-old who lives in Pensacola, shared her excitement on TikTok about seeing her first snowstorm. Now, she says she's lived in northern Florida her entire life and has never seen anything like this. In the video, she throws her first snowball and shows her dog getting a taste of the snow. Now, the dog seems just as fascinated. For folks in snow states, sometimes in our busy lives of shoveling and scraping, we forget the magic that nature can bring. So here's to all the young and young at heart in the South enjoying a rare winter wonderland, Southern style. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.